So I used to be, the type of person who would chase after people who really weren't into me, right? I remember there was this one specific girl, this one specific girl who I was so infatuated with, right? So obsessed with that I did a lot of shit that I'm even disgusted thinking about it, right? You know how sometimes you look back or you think back to the past and some of the things that you did and you kind of get that ick or that disgusted feeling, right? That's the kind of feeling that I get every single time I think about some of the things that I did back then when I didn't know any better, right? Back then when I was in a place of ignorance, so on and so forth. And I remember no matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to win this girl over, nothing that I did could ever get her to see me in the way that I wanted her to see me, right? And y'all should know by now that when a person doesn't like you, there is nothing that you can do to get them to like you, right? Quite often, people have this thing in which they mention all the tips and all the tricks and all the dumbass gimmicks that, they promote as a way of winning a person over. But realistically, when a person isn't into you, there is nothing you can do to win them over. There is absolutely nothing. Because when it even comes down to something such as attraction, attraction isn't really in what we do, it's in who we are. So if that person doesn't see you that way, right, for you just being you, there is nothing that you can do to get them to see your value, right? You can't win a person over by doing. People, we all are attracted to someone else's being, right? And so there was absolutely nothing that I could do to really win this girl over. And I bent over backwards. I chased. I allowed myself to get disrespected. And I kept going and I kept going. But it didn't matter what I tried. She really just wasn't into me, right? And I had a few of those situations in my earlier life, when I didn't know any better. And now that I'm in a place in which I know better, now that I'm at an age in which I've grown and I've learned and I've matured and I stepped into my self love, I began to realize that the reason why I was chasing after these people wasn't even necessarily because I liked them, right? Sure, I was attracted to them. Sure, you know, I wanted to probably even be with them at that point in my life. But the reason why I was chasing after them, the biggest reason why I was chasing after them, wasn't because I really liked them, right? It was because I didn't really like myself, right? I believe that there was something wrong with me. I believe that I was not good enough. I believe that I was not worthy. And I believe that if I could get someone who I was interested in to accept me, right? To love me, to see my value, then I would finally be worth something. I would finally be good enough, right? So all the times that I spent chasing, all the times that I spent putting up with disrespect, all the times that I spent trying to be chosen by this person, it wasn't even necessarily for them, it was for me, right? I was trying to find my self worth. I was trying to find my value through the validation and through the acceptance of another person, right? And I don't think we really realize just how much of our interest, just how much of our pursuit and us chasing after people has very little to do with them, and it has everything to do with us, right? When you don't love yourself, when you don't value yourself, when you don't see your worth, you're constantly trying to get someone else to acknowledge you, to recognize you, to make you feel seen, to make you feel valued, right? Just so that you can feel good about yourself, right? And just so that you can use that other person's acceptance to accept yourself. You're constantly trying to be chosen by that next person so that you can choose yourself, right? So a lot of us in this world are caught up in a cycle of chasing after a person's acceptance, and it's really coming from a place of not truly accepting ourselves, right? And we believe that if we can somehow win these people over, we believe that if we can somehow get these people to acknowledge us, get these people to see us, then somehow we'll be worth something. And that's something that I wrestled with quite a lot in my earlier or younger years, right? But now that I'm at a point in which I've began to love myself, now that I'm at a point in which I've truly began to appreciate myself, right, and see value in myself, right, my attraction for people has completely changed, right? Now that I'm at a point in which I value me, my attraction for people is no longer the same. And what I mean by that is when you truly begin to love yourself, when you truly begin to value yourself, when you truly begin to recognize your own worth, it becomes impossible for you to be attracted or into someone who isn't into you. It becomes impossible. Nowadays, whenever I meet someone or I go out with someone who isn't into me or who I don't feel that mutual um interest or attraction from, right? I kind of get that ick feeling, right? You know how people say you get the ick? I begin to get the ick whenever I'm with or around someone who isn't into me or who I can tell isn't into me, right? Or who isn't reciprocating my effort and treating me in the way in which I desire to be treated. I can't find myself being attracted to them, right? So when you begin to really love yourself, your self-worth, your self-love protects you from misalignment. Once you begin to love yourself, right? You no longer put up with people who aren't reflecting your effort, who aren't reciprocating the effort, who aren't showing up for you, who aren't treating you with the respect that you desire to be treated with. Once you truly begin to love yourself, you can only be attracted to people who are attracted to you and who reciprocate what you have to give, right? And that is why your self love is the greatest protection that you can have in this world, right? Your self love allows you to walk away from situations in which your effort isn't being reciprocated. Your self love allows you to walk away from situations in which you are being taken for granted. Your self worth allows you to walk away from people who don't treat you with respect, right? Whether that is family, friends, romantic partners, right? It doesn't matter who that person is. Your self love protects you from all the bullshit relationships, every single misalignment that comes your way. Your self love protects you from that because when you love yourself, you recognize it. When you love yourself, you recognize what is not for you, right? When you love yourself, you see misalignment from a mile away, right? You feel it, right? You feel when someone isn't into you. You feel when someone is disrespecting you, right? You feel when someone isn't showing up for you the way that you want them to show up for you, right? You feel it. When you love yourself, you're sensitive to to every ill treatment, right? You're sensitive to any form of misalignment when you truly love yourself or when you truly value yourself, right? And that is why we all have to get to a place in which we truly value ourselves if we want something healthy in our lives, right? Most of us in this world are constantly trying to find love in another without finding love in ourselves first. We're constantly trying to be chosen by another person without choosing ourselves first. We're constantly trying to be accepted by another person without first accepting ourselves. And how can you truly recognize something in another person, or can you truly recognize those things if you first have not recognized those things within yourself, right? And what I mean by that is our definitions of a lot of things are tainted because we have not, I guess, recognized those things within ourselves for us to even have a definition of those things, right? If you guys get what I'm saying, right? And what I mean by that is when you don't truly love yourself, what you call love is always going to be a tainted perception or a tainted picture of love. When you don't love yourself, you're going to accept mistreatment, right? Accept people who don't put out effort, right? Because you don't even are going to even know what that love is, right? If y'all get what I'm saying, right? A lot of us in this world, we have even people in our lives who we say they love us. We say they care about us, but yet they don't treat us with the respect, right? They don't show up for us in the way in which we desire to be showed up for. But yet somehow we believe that they love us. We believe that they care about us, right? And that's because we don't know what these things are. We have not found them within ourselves first for us to even recognize them in the world, right? I really want y'all to get what I'm saying, right? You have to first find those things within yourself for you to recognize it in the world and recognize when other people are bringing those things into your life. If you have not found peace within yourself, The peace that someone brings to you, or the peace that someone brings to you, you're going to mistake it, right? You're going to mistake toxicity for peace, right? You're going to mistake ill treatment for love, right? So many of the things that we think we're getting from other people aren't even the real thing. And you can't know the real thing until you possess the real thing. You can't know what true love is, or what being loved is, if you don't have a love for yourself. So you're going to accept love that is tainted from other people because you haven't found it within yourself to even recognize when someone is truly loving you, right? If you don't know what peace is, or if you haven't found peace within yourself, you're going to mistake toxicity for peace, right? You have to first find those things within yourself for you to truly recognize when someone is truly right for you. And I had to get to that point in my life. And I am at a point right now in my life in which I don't play about me. I had to do a lot of work on myself, right? I had to do a lot of work to get to a place in which I love myself, to get to a place in which I value myself, to get to a place in which I've created peace in my life, right? And I'm happy with who I am. And now that I'm at this place in my life, I don't play about me. I'm willing to walk away from any relationship, any situation in which I'm taken for granted. I'm willing to walk away from any person who isn't bringing peace into my life. I'm willing to walk away from any person who isn't reciprocating the effort that I'm putting out, right? Because I've created such a sacred place within myself and within my life, and I won't allow anyone to come into my life and disrupt that, right? So once we get to a place in which we truly value ourselves, in which we truly love ourselves, you can only accept the best, right? You can only accept a person who's showing up for you the right way. You're not going to be attracted to some of the people that you were once attracted to, right? And even the thought of them disgusts you. Not because they are a bad person, but because of the things that you've allowed them to do to you and allowed in your life. You're going to be disgusted both by them and by yourself because of the things that you accepted, right? Your your romantic life, and not even your romantic life, but all your relationships in your life, they are all a reflection of your self-worth, whether you recognize it or not. Every single relationship in our lives are a reflection of our self-worth. Every single one of them, right? There is no relationship in your life that isn't a reflection of your self-worth. Because once you love yourself, your tolerance level, your tolerance level begins to decline, right? Some of the things that you used to put up with, you're no longer going to be able to put up with it anymore, right? When you truly love yourself, you're not going to accept disrespect. You're not going to accept a person bringing toxicity into your life. You're not going to accept a person disrupting your peace, right? Talking down to you, right? When you love yourself, you only accept the best, the absolute best. But as long as you don't love and accept yourself, you are going to allow people into your life who shouldn't be in your life. And you are going to wake up every day and hate yourself, hate your life. Wonder why things aren't changing. Wonder why you're attracting the same people, right? And it's all coming from your self worth. It's all coming from your self love. So your self love is a reflection, or I should say that your relationships are a reflection of your self worth and your self love. 100% of the time. 100%. And am I saying that when you finally get to a place in which you love yourself, that you're just going to magically find that person immediately, right? No, I'm not saying that. No, life doesn't work like that. When you love yourself, when you begin to love and accept yourself, you're still going to come across people who try to disrespect you, right? You're going to come across people who try to take you for granted. You're going to come across people who aren't reciprocating your effort, right? But the difference between loving yourself, or when you used to love yourself, when you never used to love yourself, and now that you do love yourself, is that you're not going to allow yourself to be in a place in which you're being taken for granted, or in which you're being disrespected. You are going to walk away. When you see misalignment and when you feel that misalignment, you're going to walk away, right? You're probably going to walk away from a lot of people. Because believe it or not, a lot of people in this world are dysfunctional. A lot of people in this world are mentally unstable and mentally unhealthy, right? And you're going to come across a lot of these people. But when you love yourself, you don't allow yourself to be there anymore. You no longer allow yourself to be in places in which you're being taken for granted. You can't. It's impossible. So if you want something healthy in your life, if you want something good in your life, you have to prioritize your self love. You have to prioritize your self worth. Stop looking for people to make you feel accepted if you haven't accepted yourself. Stop looking for people to love you if you haven't gotten to a place in which you love yourself. Stop looking for people to give you things which you have not given to yourself. Because if you have not given these things to yourself, and if you have not defined them for yourself, how are you going to know how they look? How are you going to know when a person is genuinely into you if you're not genuinely into you, right? How are you going to know when a person is bringing peace in your life if internally you're in chaos? Because we only recognize what is aligned with us in the present moment. We only recognize what is without when we recognize what is within. And our concepts of certain things, or how we see certain things and what we possess within, is always going to be what we're aligned to without, or on the outside, if you don't understand what I mean by without, right? So everything starts within. Your self-worth is your dating life. Your self-worth is who you're attracted to. Your self-love and your self-worth is who you allow into your life. It's always a reflection of these things. 100% of the time. But once you truly begin to love yourself, you are going to experience the greatest change that you could possibly experience when it comes on to your attraction to people. Right? The greatest change that you can possibly experience, you're going to experience it. Right? Ask me how I know. Right? Ask me how I know. I can come across the most beautiful woman in the world. And if we go out on a date and I don't see her reciprocating my effort, reciprocating my interest, right? Or if she isn't treating me how I desire to be treated, my attraction for her completely goes away. It's non-existent, right? So your self-worth even pierces the physical, goes way beyond the physical, right? Goes way beyond it. It sees beyond it. And that's the place that you have to get to in your life if you want something healthy, if you want something real. You gotta get to a place in which you truly value and love yourself. Because if you don't, you're constantly going to keep attracting the same people over and over again. And you're going to wonder why you're stuck in a cycle of attracting the same people. And it is because you don't love or value yourself. When you're stuck in a cycle in which you're attracting the same people, right? And the same patterns that you see in someone else that you dated in the past keep showing up in the same person that you're with presently, it is because you don't really love and value yourself. Because if you love and value yourself, you're not going to allow yourself to be in places in which you're not being valued, in which you're not being, respected. You're not going to allow yourself to be in these places. You're willing to walk away the moment you see that misalignment. You're going to be, you know, immediately willing to walk away, right? So it's a beautiful day. Um, I decided to start making probably most of my videos outdoors now. Um, there's a certain level of peace that you get from just being outside. Very peaceful outside, and I don't know, for some reason I can think clearly. Um, I feel like inner stillness. I just love being out here, so I'm gonna make my all my videos out here now, uh, as much as possible. I'm gonna say that as much as possible. I might film some indoor videos here and there. For the most part, I'm gonna be outside, right? So yeah, take into account everything that I said in this video. I recognize that your attraction for people and who you're attracted to, and I'm not talking about just visual attraction or physical attraction, right? You can be visually attracted to a lot of people, but who you're deeply attracted to, right? The people who you're deeply infatuated with and you really like, they are always a reflection of your self-worth and your self-love 100% of the time. And if you want to attract the right people and be attracted to the right people, you have to first look within yourself. Right? Really look within yourself and really work to love and to accept yourself, right? Because if you don't, you are continuously going to keep attracting the same people over and over again. And you're going to wonder why all your relationships, why all the people that you find yourself with, you know, they possess similar patterns. And it's all coming from you. And recognizing that life, your relationships, your job, everything is a reflection of you is the first step in truly changing your life and creating the life and the type of relationships that you want. Right? Really recognizing that is one of the most empowering places that you can possibly be in your life. Sure, you're going to be disappointed that you didn't recognize it sooner, and you're probably going to be disgusted with yourself for even allowing yourself to be in certain places. But recognizing that life, relationships, everything is a reflection of you is one of the most empowering places that you can possibly be, right? So take care of yourselves. Give yourselves a bit of love every day, like I always say. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and blessings.